Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whisky. My name's VinPF, and on today's episode we're going to be checking out a Lakes Distillery product. Now that's something interesting because I haven't actually covered many full-size bottles of the Lakes. I first picked up a bottle of the one in 2016 and reviewed it back then, and at the time I have to say I didn't really get on with it that well. I wasn't a big fan of that particular bottling. I had tried some of the other ones and did enjoy those. Now fast forward a little bit forwards and we get this one here. This is the Whiskymaker's Reserves number 4. This bottle was kindly sent over to me by the guys at TopWhiskies, and the cool thing about that is it is actually in stock on their website right now. So if you want to go and check it out, make sure you hit the description below and see the links, and you can pick up a bottle of this if you're interested after my review. Now, we talked a little bit about the Lakes and how I didn't really like them so much. They then made a bit of a change in their lineup, and they brought in Darvel Gandhi, who was a whiskey maker for Macallan. Now, personally, that kind of, for me, that was a little bit alarm bells. Already I had the kind of, not a bad experience, let's say, but not a great experience with what they were making. And then they brought someone on from Macallan, who's a distillery that, again, I don't get on with. So I have to say, I kind of took a back step from the Lakes a little bit, and I didn't really cover anything major from them. I did cover some samples throughout the years that I was sent through and had varying degrees of interest in that, but I didn't really pick up another bottle since then. Then I picked up the 3 samples of the Whiskymaker's Reserves 1, 2 and 3, the 3 before this one. And I have to say they were all astounding. I did a video on that, a Sample Saturday video. You can go and check that out. It'll be around somewhere, some kind of links I think. And they were all brilliant, And I was massively surprised because they're really sherry-led whiskies. The idea behind these Whiskymaker's Reserve bottles is that they're really kind of giving Darvel kind of free rein to make whatever he wants, which is, I think, is pretty cool, when you've got trust in your whiskey maker like that, to just be like, just make whatever you want, basically. And that's what we have here today. So I have to say, after trying those 3 samples, the Lakes redeemed themselves in my head and made me trust in the kind of PX and the Oloroso sherries that were going into this sort of stuff, made me interested enough to want to be able to review this one when TopWhiskies offered me the bottle. So about time we talked about this one specifically. All of the Whiskymaker's Reserves have a slightly different makeup, but we're only really going to be talking about this one. If you want to hear about the other 3, make sure you go and check out that video I mentioned earlier. I'm going to bring out the glass for this so you can see. This is all non-chill filtered natural colour, so we can talk about this awesome looking colour right here. Now this one has 3 different kinds of barrels in it, and that's got some Spanish oak, some French oak, and some American oak. That's had Oloroso, PX, and red wine in it, which is a cool little mixture. Again, like I've said before, I've been critical of kind of Oloroso and PX in the past, but as it turns out, it really depends on how those casks have come out, and in this particular case, they've picked some really good casks. Let's get onto the actual nose and see what we've got then, shall we? Now, it's got a really kind of rich, deep nose. It's a lot of those kind of rich honeys, dried fruits, but it isn't the kind of dried fruits you'd normally expect from a sherry-led whiskey. We talk about raisins. Raisins are in here. I'm not picking up too many kind of sultanas and that sort of thing. Instead, it's more like a kind of plum vibe to it, which is really interesting. On the back end, it's almost a little kind of dark treacly on the nose. This is all from the nose. It's a really deep nose, very interesting. No sulphur at all. Yes! Let's try on the palate. So, more of those honeys are coming across. It kind of disappears a little bit on those dried fruits we talked about on the nose. It's replaced instead with a kind of a much juicier fruitiness instead of those kind of dried fruits. And then there's a kind of like a big, like lively ginger spice there as well. Yeah, the finish is huge, really long, really bright and vibrant, fruity, and very warming as well. I'm kind of feeling this going down as we go down through this whiskey. Now, I have to say, I love this stuff. I loved all of the other 3. This one here, difficult to pin where I think it comes in the group. I think it might be one of the better ones. I have to say, they're all when we talk about best to worst in a group like this. Really, we're talking about 4 really good whiskies and how you would rank them. So it's really irrelevant. In any case, all of the other 3 are sold out, so hard to get hold of. This one isn't sold out, which is great. It's available right now. Why not go and check it out if you're interested in such things? The ABV is lower on this one than the other ones, but I think it's still hitting a perfect note. I imagine if it suited it to be higher, then it would have been bottled higher. I think Darvel's made extra efforts to bottle this at the right ABV that suits the flavour that's coming out of this thing. Can't really say much fairer than that. In my opinion, it's a really good whiskey. It's one of those things that's really put me back onto the distillery. I might go and check out some of the other core range stuff now that I've tried some things about what's going on up there. You know, they've really turned their kind of image around. They're producing some really excellent whiskies right now. Definitely worth putting on your radar if it wasn't already.